Hey, what's going on? I am going to be installing a street legal turn signal kit on the Talaria Sting. Now this kit was made for a Sur-Ron, but I have a friend who did this. He's given me a little bit of guidance. And so the kit that I bought, again, is made for a Sur-Ron. I have it all in this Nike box here. And I'm gonna retrofit it to a Talaria Sting. So let's talk about what comes with the kit here. I opened up the packaging and threw it away, so I just have it in a shoebox. But real quick, before we install it, there's like this mud flap here. That doesn't fit on the Talaria, so we'll throw that aside. A few bolts that we'll be using, but this is going to be used to put the brake lights and turn signal on the back of the bike, and I have to do some modifications there. These are the turn signals that just strap to your suspension forks. And this is the main control unit. You have your turn signals, you have your lights, and you have your horn. So, gotta get that on the bike. And, whoops, then this is the rear tail light and turn signals. They threw in a couple of extra LED strips. These plug into the tail light of a Sur-Ron, so we probably won't use those. There's an adapter if you've removed your brake sensors, so that's what this does. There's an adapter to set that up. I haven't removed mine, so I'll be keeping those. Then there's the instructions and a little QR code to scan to show you how to do it on a Sur-Ron, but hopefully you can use this video as a resource for doing it on the Talaria Sting. So that's what we're going to work on today. Kind of a big undertaking, but we'll see how it goes. First things first, I've removed the battery. That's the best practice, especially if you're going to do anything electrical. So you want to make sure your battery's out, and we'll get started. Okay, so let's get things situated here. I am going to try to wire or weave this through somewhere in the battery compartment. Okay, so I ran the wire down through a little gap between the battery compartment and out the rear of the bike. So you might be able to see it up in there. But I'm just gonna let this dangle for a minute and we'll hook up the rest of the pieces. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is remove the ignition. Should come out pretty easy here. Sure you don't lose those bolts, and lift up on the cover there, and you should be able to pop out the ignition depending on how loose your wires are there. We'll leave it connected. We'll just set it aside because what we're trying to get at is the headlight wire. So I've actually added the grit shift on off switch, so I'm actually going to remove that and also remove my headlight connection, just like that. So with your stock Talaria, this connection would be connected directly to it, but because I have the on-off switch, then I had to remove two pieces, so keep that in mind if you're wondering why that looks different. Now I'm going to remove the horn cover plate because we're actually going to disconnect the horn temporarily. Like a Sur-Ron. So before I go any further on the removal of the horn button, I'm going to have to snip a couple of zip ties and follow this wire down to the horn to make sure I'm disconnecting the right wire that closes the circuit that makes the horn go. So I was thinking that it went all the way down to the horn, but it's actually a connector similar to the headlight. But let me show you the difference here. You don't want to plug in your headlight to where the horn plugs into. So you have two areas, two similar connectors. The one that connects into the battery connector, that's going to be for your headlight. And then there's one a little bit further back, that's going to be your horn. I'm just making a mental note that the lower one has the headlight in it, and that is the connector to the battery. And then the upper one is for the horn. So we'll connect that now. Before you run the relay and all the plugs up through into the battery compartment, what I would suggest to do is get your handle, your left handle, all situated to where it's comfortable. I'm going to try this with the turn signal and headlight and horn switch as far in as I can go, but also, you know, pushed all the way this way with my egg rider display next, and then the brake in between. So we'll see how this feels. It is a tiny bit of a stretch for my thumb, but I think it'll be okay. I really do. So I'd recommend getting, you know, your setup here first. Okay, so I got it all ran up through. I have my, I believe these two connectors are for the headlight and the switch. I believe this long one is for the horn, and then this green connector is for the tail light and the turn signals, and the blue one is for the front lights and turn signals. And I've actually weaved those up through as well. So here are my turn signals for the front. This is separate from the rest of that cluster. I've just weaved it up through as well, giving it plenty of slack so that I have wire to work with when I attach it to the front of the bike. So let's start making some connections. First things first, I believe this one again is for the horn. So I'm going to connect that. And the reason why I believe that's the case is because it kind of stands alone, whereas the headlight, this is for the headlight here. So I'll make that connection now. This one connects the headlight to the power. If you can see, I know my hands are in the way, but it's kind of buried down in there, so we'll make that connection. All right, then we'll connect these Joule or Hygo connectors here. If you look closely, you can see a couple of arrows. You just line those up, and if it doesn't seem like it's going to go, don't force it, but it should connect just like that. And I almost lost the one for the front lights, and that's going to connect just like that. So I have one more wire sticking out. It's this one. I don't know if that's the adapter for the brake cutoff, but I'm gonna just double check and I'll get right back to you. Okay, before we get too much further and I tighten everything up and get it all organized and stuff, I'm gonna throw in the battery, get it connected, and just see if everything works. Cool. Go to the blinkers. Nice. It's working on the rear too. So far so good. Let's see if there's a brake light. Okay, so I need to figure out the brake light piece. Thinking that that's what that connector's for, but I don't know how it hooks up. So everything else is looking good though. Okay, so that wire with the little prong coming out actually went to the horn. So now I gotta wire this down through here and get the horn hooked back up. And then I'll just wrap this really good with some electrical tape so water doesn't get in it. I figured it out. So that part that I was saying that went into where the horn was, actually you don't use that. As you saw in that last clip, you just plug that extra little clamp onto the horn to make that work. This is a piece that actually you hook your brake sensor to. So the brake sensor is this crazy thing. It's just a wire. This is the sensor right here. And if you look at my brakes, let's see if I can get a nice angle here. So the kit comes with a magnet. And as you get, if you can see that in the distance, as you get this sensor close to that magnet, it shuts off. So with the 3M tape, you have to place it somewhere where it's close enough, but then when you squeeze that lever, the magnet gets far enough away and the brake light actuates. So that's what that is for. It's this yellow HIGO connector. I have that connected into the kit there. So we got everything working. We got the horn, we got the lights, we got the turn signals. There you go. And the brake light. So now what I need to do is obviously do some major wire cleanup in there. And then I got to mount this to the back of the bike. And then also, whoops, get these connected to the forks there. So just kind of learning as I go, getting this hooked up to the Talaria. It's a little bit more plug and play for a Sur-Ron, but we are getting there. So this doesn't really hook into anywhere. So what my buddy did, and I'm gonna copy, is bring some brackets down off the bolts that are behind the tail light here and hook this underneath the tail light. So I have this tail light going, plus I'll have a brake light, and it'll look good. So I'm gonna work on that. I don't have any brackets. What I do have are these angle brackets here, and I'm just gonna cut these so that I can use them as a straight down piece. I'll show you what I'm talking about when I'm done. But you can probably go to the hardware store and get something like this that will work for you. But obviously like a straight bracket. But I'm just gonna Dremel this down and use that for my bracket. So I'll show you that when I'm done. All right, there's my two brackets. So this is how I mounted the mount for the tail light. You can see I put these two brackets in by screwing them into the tail light bolts and then bolted that on. So it does hang down a little bit. Should be pretty good there. But then what I'm gonna do is take this and wrap it onto that mount and then zip tie the ends so it's nice and secure. Okay, so aside from a little bit of cable management, I got the bike put back together and tested everything, but let's show you what it does. So you have your entire control over here on this big old honking control thing, but you turn on your lights. With the lights on, you have I have this light from Grit Shift. I'll put a link for it down in the description below. But then you also have kind of like some running lights, you know, when you're not turning or anything. But then on the back, you got your tail lights. So now I have two sets of lights back there. It's always good to have high visibility. So let's check out the blinker. All right, there's my right turn signal. There's my left turn signal. Show you what that looks like in the back. And then, if you don't have lights on, and you can still run your signals. See, just like a car. I'll show you the back too. So there you go. And then the horn works, and we are good to go. All right, so it took a little bit longer than I thought to install. It wasn't that hard. It was just trying to figure out where everything goes, what everything does. Hopefully I pointed out all the right spots. If you want to do this installation yourself, hopefully I was clear enough on where everything goes and the little modification I did on the tail light. I'll have a link in the description for this kit down below. I bought it through Amazon, so you can check that out. And if you have any questions about this setup, go ahead and leave a comment and ask them. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And of course, if you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up. And while you're down there asking questions or telling me what you think, hit that subscribe button. Have a great rest of your day.